Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. It's the festive season and the English Premier League, as customary, has been providing us with some festive fixtures. Round 18 still ongoing, with Arsenal leading Ipswich 1-0 in the second half of added time at the Emirates Stadium. Earlier, Brighton hosted Brentford at the Amex Stadium, with the match ending in a 0-0 draw. Meanwhile, Boxing Day saw a total of 8 matches. Let's have a quick look at those results now from Thursday. Liverpool coming from behind, 3-1 over Leicester. Man United beaten 2-0 at Wolves. Bournemouth 0-0 with Crystal Palace. Fulham winning 2-1 at Chelsea. Newcastle 3-0 over Aston Villa. Tottenham beaten 1-0 at Nottingham Forest. West Ham winning 1-0 at Southampton. And the struggling Manchester City held 1-1 by travelling Everton. Now, Liverpool's come from behind 3-1 win over Leicester City at Anfield on Boxing Day meant they will end the calendar year atop the standings. And joining us on Zoom is our European football correspondent, Simon Evans. Simon, is this the season that Liverpool equals Manchester United's record tally of 20 titles in the top flight? As we say, welcome, and a long time we haven't heard from you.
Indeed. Season's greetings. Yeah, no, it's looking that way, isn't it, with Liverpool? It really is, because it seems everybody else is doing their best not to compete with them this year. Every time we look at a team that seems to be showing signs of being there, Arsenal have stumbled. Chelsea have shown like they might be interested in having a go, and then they've stumbled as well. So Liverpool are the one who found that key ingredient, the consistency, just to keep going. And of course, Manchester City not really part of the conversation for once.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of football left to be played, so we have to be open in our discussions to understand that there's far too much football left to be played for us to be, signing off on things. But there's no doubt that Liverpool are on the path to success, and due in no small measure, Simon, to the great work that Arne Slot has been doing since taking over.
Well, he's done a remarkable job, hasn't he? Because people were comparing that task of replacing Jurgen Klopp with the situations we've seen at other clubs, with Arsenal after Wenger left, with Manchester United after Alex Ferguson left, and how difficult it can be to take over a dynasty and not have a big drop-off in results and performance. And he's just kept things going from the Klopp era, improved in certain areas on the basis of Klopp's last couple of seasons, and has really been able to enhance that style of football, that very dynamic, aggressive, pressing, attacking football, with some of the new players who've come in, finding their feet very quickly. He's not tried to be too clever. He's done a really, really impressive job.
Yeah, and to be fair to him, he did say very early in the piece, Simon, that he came to a club that he already inherited a squad that was doing well. In the 5 seasons leading up to him getting there, they had 1 title, 2 third-place finishes, and a second-place finish. So he pretty much said that there was a lot right about the club. So there wasn't a situation where he would have to make major changes and so on.
Yeah, and he avoided the temptation of wanting to have his own personal imprint on that team right away. So many managers we see come into clubs and they want to bring 3 or 4 players in, perhaps from their previous clubs or from the country that they've come from, and try and change things and make it their team very quickly. He doesn't seem to have that ego problem that he's got any issues with it looking and feeling like Jurgen Klopp's side with him in charge of it. He's had no problem at all doing that. And it's been refreshing, really, and in stark contrast to how some of the other teams have handled things after those changes at the top. Yeah,
and another strong point for him and how he has influenced his squad is the performance of like a Mo Salah, Simon, because he has become the first player in Premier League history to have double digits in both goals and assists before Christmas. That has never happened before. And Mo Salah is a player that I think Liverpool fans sometimes are a little, on 2 sides with him, because when he is unsung, he's unstoppable. But there are times when they feel they can get a lot more from him. But clearly what Slot has been setting up his team to do has allowed Mo Salah to flourish.
It does, because they create that space for him that he needs. He needs that little yard or 2 of space and the ability to sort of cut in from the flank, and that means defenders being stretched around by others. And the players they have around him, Diaz in particular, but also Szoboszlai coming from behind, are creating those little spaces that he can exploit. But he exploits them so well, doesn't he? I think he's great to watch. I've enjoyed watching him ever since he arrived at Liverpool. And I remember the first game, you're right, talking about some of those strange mixed feelings people have. I remember his first game and hearing a Liverpool fan after about 25 minutes of his debut saying, he looks good, but there's no end product with this guy. And, well, you look onto it a few years later, and there certainly has been plenty of end product from him.
Yeah, and you know what? To highlight how impactful a player he is or he can be, even now while his stats are top of the EPL, there are so many moments in matches where his desire to score goals takes away his teamwork moments, because so many times I see him cutting in from the flanks where it would have been a lot more beneficial to the team for him to slide the ball across for one of his teammates to get the goal, and he tries to go for goal from a tight angle. And I don't want to criticize him for it because he leads in assists, he leads in goals, so whatever he is doing is solid.
Yeah, but it's that classic dilemma, isn't it, with the great goal scorers in the game, that they have that selfishness in there. They have that little bit of wanting to be greedy for goals. And it can, at times, frustrate when it doesn't come off. But it is part of the deal. It's a package deal when you have players like that, isn't it? That you have that risk that they might not slip the ball inside to someone in a better position because they are so fired up about, so focused on wanting to score goals themselves. And I think both Jurgen Klopp and Arne Slot will take it.
Yeah, Simon, in 2022, Salah signed a 3-year agreement extending his time at Liverpool. That agreement will come to an end at the close of this campaign. What do you suspect will happen with a 32-year-old Mo Salah? Will Liverpool keep him on at the end of this season, given his remarkable form at this stage? Or do you suspect if they win the Premier League, Salah himself will say, well, it's time to move on?
Yeah, it's an open question, isn't it? Really, there's been hints that the contract offer isn't to his liking. He's certainly suggested that perhaps he deserves more after everything he's achieved, and there will be clubs out there, whether in Europe or in Saudi Arabia, who will be ready to pay him that more. So that's the thing. So do Liverpool value him enough at 32 years of age to give him a really big 2-year contract and then say, okay, at 34, maybe it's time for him, he can go? Or are they looking for a 1-year deal or a shorter term deal that he's probably going to say no to? And then, are people turning his heads? They're not supposed to be yet. He's not supposed to be allowed to be in negotiation with anyone until, well, another couple of weeks yet, I think. But he... we know how it works in the business. Certain bits of information and ideas can reach a player through his agent, and it's a tricky one. But I think there is pressure on Liverpool to get it done, because as good as this team is in so many areas, and as good as the other options in attack are, you do feel Liverpool would be really weakened by Salah leaving.
And is that your thinking, Simon, if you were in the position to make a decision like this one? Would you be looking at keeping Mohamed Salah for another 2 seasons at least?
Yes, absolutely. I'd be tying him down to a deal and keeping him there, because, it's not like he's looking slow and old, is it? He's 32 years of age. Some players age differently than others. And he doesn't show any signs, in my opinion, of slowing down and looking less hungry or less effective at all. So I would be keeping him around for another 2 years for sure. And that gives Liverpool plenty of time to look for an eventual replacement for him.
Yeah, in many ways, he's looked as good this season as he's ever looked, Mohamed Salah. He's been phenomenal, really. Another player I want you to comment on, because I remember only a few seasons ago, a lot of Liverpool fans were saying that, that Klopp had spent too much time with Trent AlexanderArnold, that he had passed his best and it was time to go. How do you rate what he's brought to this Liverpool team this season on the slot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's ever been, in my opinion, any doubt about his quality. I don't really understand some of the debates about him. I mean, He's had difficult moments, and he was tested right from the start. But he always seems to come through these tests, even when he has the little wobbly spells. And he has had a few of those in his career. But I remember very early on in his career, Pep Guardiola in some of those epic battles between City and Liverpool, when they were really, really very closely matched, little between them, was targeting Alexander-Arnold and pinging the ball out to the left. It was Leroy Sané at the time who was playing down that left flank, and everything was going in that direction because he felt that defensively he could exploit Alexander-Arnold, and he came through that. And he's not a big talker, and he's not a loud guy. He's actually quite a quietly spoken guy in his interviews and so on. But I think he's got a really strong mentality. So the doubters have been there. The moments of bad form have been there. There's always that discussion about what his best position is now, because he has been used at times in that midfield role and looks pretty comfortable in it. But he's still a very effective right back. Even as much as people talk about how he's not so strong defensively, I think they're comparing him with, for the England role, perhaps with Kyle Walker at his best and so on. I think he's an excellent player, and I think he's shown enough this season to answer his critics.
Yeah, very much the case. And one quick one before we go, Simon. Will Manchester United avoid relegation?
I mean, Manchester United, this saga just shows no sign of ending, does it? They made their mistake last summer by keeping Ten Hag. Incredibly difficult situation that Amorim finds himself in, trying to change things around in the middle of a season. But I think, yes, I think they'll be safe.
And by the way, I know we're all laughing, right? Including Lance over there for some reason. But I'm serious. I just can't be serious on this topic without laughing, and clearly neither can Lance, right, Lance?
It's a break time. I really appreciate the fact that we got Simon in before the year is out, because we haven't heard from him for a long time, and we appreciate the contributions that Simon makes to the show. Thanks, boss.
Always enjoy it. Always enjoy it. Look forward to more of it in 2025.
Okay, great. And we'll be back after the break, and I'll be at the track.